Purposes and origins of government. In this lesson, you will learn, why is government necessary? What are the functions of government? What is a nation, state, or country? The origins of the state, and the 4 theories of government. Your key terms for this lesson are government, politics, population, territory, sovereignty, and rule of law. So, the purpose and origins of government. Why is government necessary? What is the functions of government, the national state and country, and the origins of the state. Okay, so bell ringer, okay. I'm going to read the quotations about the role of government, and I want you guys to answer the questions that kind of follow. Madison believed that people, because of their nature, require a government to keep them under control. But what is government itself? But the greatest of all reflections on human nature. In framing a government, which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. What does this mean? What do you guys think this means? Who can help me out? Let's go to Branson. What do you think? What do you think this means?
I think it means that, well, governments ruled by men that rule over the people, but the difficulty is that the people have to still play a big role because it's democracy. So it's difficult to get that balance.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect answer, right? That the people still have to have that balance of what laws and what policies, right? We are allowing someone to rule us, but we still kind of rule that person, you know, we still put that person in charge. So, okay, great job. How does government influence our lives, right? So let's think about this for a sec. On a day-to-day basis, how does government really affect what we do on every day? This could be like driving to school, the roads, okay? Roads, the stop signs, right? The taxes we pay, right? The police officers, even me as a teacher, I am an employee of the federal government. I'm an employee of the executive branch, right? So government influences our lives in so many different ways. The impact, you know, and each individual and city, each individual state and city has governments as well. So you have the federal government, and then you'll have a state government, and then we have like local governments, okay? And each one of them kind of affect our lives in a different manner, okay? Let's talk about like what's going on today with us doing online school. Who really made the decision to have us go into online school? What do you guys think? Would this be a local government? Would this be a state government or the federal government? What do you guys think? We'll go to Miss Beck. What do you think, Miss Beck?
I think it's a local government because like schools, like other districts are still in school. So like, and like even like our private schools within our area, they're still in school too. So like I feel like it's a local thing. Or is that right?
Yeah. It's actually a decision that's made both on the local with like the school boards and the state of Utah. Okay. Last legislative session, the state of Utah passed a law that local governments cannot close schools, okay, because of the epidemic. Well, the problem lies in the fact that when it comes to having to close a school, because say we have a major outbreak like we did at Harriman High School, right? We have to go through so much so many different channels, so many areas of bureaucracy and red tape to actually shut down the school so we can have a healthy environment. When we went into online school a couple of years ago, that was very much a local government's decision. Now it is a local and a state government decision. They had to get approval from the governor of Utah, from the state Senate, and the state House of Representatives, and the state school board before they can make the decision to shut down the school. It was recommended by the local health department, which is another local government, but you had to go through so many different channels to actually get what we had. So looking at what government does when influencing our lives, there's lots of different governments or agencies that really affect us on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Some other examples of this would be like land use, property taxes, laws, education, healthcare, and living conditions in neighborhoods, right? People that live in Daybreak, you can only plant certain types of trees to kind of keep the look of the neighborhood up. You have HOAs, these are local governments as well, right? And the whole idea behind this is to establish and maintain numerous public services, right? To kind of look out for the general welfare of the people. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. So what is a government? Government is the institution to which society makes and enforces its public policies. Okay, government by its very existence is an institution. Politics, right? When you hear this word politics, this is the process of how government works. Okay. For a state or a country to exist, there are 4 basic elements that they must contain. Make sure you write down these 4 basic elements. The first one is population. This is the amount of people that live in an area. Territory, the area can't be controlled by another nation, right? It has to be by itself, right? You have to have land. Sovereignty, meaning you need to have independence on that land, that there's no other claims to that land or issues to that land. So you got to be free in some aspect, and you need to have a type of government, okay? Whether that is a democracy, a republic, a socialism, communism, Marxism, you need to have some type of government. So make sure to write down those 4 characteristics of the state, or the 4 basic elements of the state: population, territory, sovereignty, and government. I'll give you a second to write those down. Those need to be in your notes. Hint, hint. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. Does anybody need me to stop for a second? Are we good to move on? Okay. So the functions of government, as you can see, I've got some different pictures of government. So from fire services to the US military, to John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, to even our police force. The functions of government go as followed: to provide leadership, okay, maintain order, so follow laws, execute laws, provide public services like the water companies or the road, like with UDOT, road companies, electrical companies, provide national security, okay, this is your borders, your trade regulation, and then provide economic security and economic assistance. This is a new one. This one is new since the New Deal from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But economic security means that the value of the dollar doesn't change. An economic system, this is like your Social Security programs, your Medicaid programs, Medicare, your welfare programs, your CHIP. These are all of the different economic assistance programs that the United States has. Any questions on the 5 basic functions of government? Okay, go ahead and move forward. So, like I said before, the 4 characteristics of the state: a territory. This is your defined borders, your population, similar culture and identity, sovereignty, self-rule. Okay, this is where you're determining your own course, what type of government you want, and government, a institution that has the power to make and enforce laws. Okay, there's 5 basic purposes of government. Okay, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "The purpose of government is to enable the people of a nation to live in safety and happiness. Government really exists for the interests of the governed, not for the governors." Okay, promote rule of law. That's a new term, rule of law. Okay, what do you guys think rule of law means? Chloe, what do you think rule of law means?
Honestly, no idea. I had to think about it.
No, that's okay. That's why you're here, is so we can learn what these words mean. Totally fine, Chloe. Rule of law means that nobody is above the law, right? Whether it's the president of the United States or Mr. Jensen, right? That I can't break the law without consequences, right? That no one is really above the law. Everyone has to follow the same laws and policies. The second one is to provide common defense, okay? This is the second principle, the second purpose of government. To provide a common defense means this is your military, this is your police force, this is a way to protect its citizens, right? The third one is to provide public services. This is your water companies, your road companies, your education, your schools, okay, your town halls, your parks. These are all public services. To support civil rights, okay, this is the protections of life, liberty, and property, a concept that's going to come up quite a bit in this class, okay? Life is the protection of your life, your individualism, okay? Liberty is your freedom, okay? And property doesn't necessarily mean private property ownership, but this could be your intellectual property. This could be your property at home. This could be your homes, right? That is the idea of government. Is the fourth idea of government is to kind of provide support for all of those 3 things: life, liberty, and property. These are your basic human and civil rights. And then the 5th one is to support economic systems, right? The government will only do this if the economic system is failing and affecting citizens, i.e., when we get like a COVID relief check, right? I don't know if any of you guys got this a couple of years ago, but during the pandemic, people were not buying as much. So this killed the economy. So what they did is they kind of gave money from the treasury to all of the American citizens to start paying and buying for products. Because when the stoppage of consumerism happens, then we start to see an economic collapse, right? The value of the dollar doesn't change, but what it's worth, what it means to inflation does. The cost of what things normally cost a year ago does change, right? So those are really the 5 basic purposes of government: promote rule of law, provide common defense, provide public services, support individual and civil rights, and support economic systems. Any questions on that? Okay, so there are going to be 4 origins of government. The first one is evolutionary theory. Evolutionary argues that the states naturally evolved out of early families, right? This is where the evolutionary theory is very tribal in nature, meaning usually it's the controlling family or the strongest or the smartest that rules over the people, okay? This is one of the earliest forms of government, and that is evolutionary theory, right? That government kind of came out of tribes and that it evolved naturally over time. The second origin of government is force theory. Force theory states that when one person or a small group took control of an area and forced all within it to submit to that one person's group. Some examples of this would be medieval England, right? Capturing and conquering land. The second would be Nazi Germany, taking over, trying to realign early Germanic, the early Germanic kingdom, okay? And then we have Napoleon, okay? Napoleon was a general for France and just conquering other lands and taking them under control, okay? This is force theory, and it's when one person or a small group takes control of an area and everybody within that area is kind of forced to submit. The third one is divine right theory. Divine right is that God created the state and that God gives those of royal birth divine right to rule, okay? Some examples of this would be ancient China with China. This would also be early monarchs, okay? King James I of Great Britain. You can even consider Egypt a divine right theory form of government, right? The royal blood is kind of destined to rule, right? Any questions on the three theories I've covered so far? And the last one is social contract theory. Social contract theory argues that the state arose out of voluntary acts from the people, meaning that the people kind of came together to challenge or to kind of create their own system of government, okay? That the only reason we have a government is because the people came together and stated that they wanted to create a government. In social contract theory, you also see the forming of a constitution, a law of the land, okay? First talked about by Thomas Hobbes, a political philosopher. He challenged divine right theory that people give up rights and liberties in order to control society, okay? Hobbes did not believe in the idea of divine right. He believed that it was really up to the will of the people to create their own government and not some special elite should control us all, okay? John Locke, another political philosopher, he had this concept of natural rights, life, liberty, and property. You're going to see later in this class, Locke's ideas of life, liberty, and property come up quite a bit. Jefferson took these ideas when he created the Declaration of Independence, and Madison, when drafting the Constitution, used this concept as well, life, liberty, and property. We also see this concept in our 14th Amendment to the US Constitution, okay, and the Due Process Clause.